for Tuesday, January the 24th, 2012. At this time, would you please turn your cell phones off, and if you're on call, please put them on vibrate as a courtesy. The invocation tonight will be by Pastor Mark Wilson of First Church of God. Please stand and remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you bow your hearts with me? Our Jesus, we thank you. Lord, you know the hearts that are in this room. You know the hearts that are filled with joy and thanksgiving and graciousness, and I thank you for those hearts. Lord, you know the hearts that are filled with pain, with an infliction that has caused a hurt, a deep scar. And Lord, I pray tonight as the church that, Lord, you would forgive us, and people in this room and the community would forgive us for inflicting pain at times, for that word that was said that caused hurt, for our better than you attitude, Lord. Please forgive. And I pray as you forgive, Lord, as you send healing into this room, into this community with these leaders, Lord, that you would build a true community of forgiveness and love and healing in this place. And we thank you for that, Lord, because you are almighty. You are able, and by your blood that was shed to promote the power to forgive. I pray you would do that in this room. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Mark. Regular City Commission meeting minutes, Tuesday, January 10th, 2012. The 2011 appropriation ordinance number AO-11-27 in the amount of $358,341.43. 2012 appropriation ordinance number AO-12-01 in the amount of $4,139,392.09. Any questions will be answered by Stephanie Richardson.
I don't have any tonight.
None here?
None here.
If there's no questions, I move we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner George to approve the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Oh, aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner George. Commissioner George. Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Moving on down to comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public?
I don't know how much you know about the civic clubs in our community, but we have several who are focused on different things. I'm with the Kiwanis, and I want you to be aware that we have a pancake day coming up, February the 11th. And we raise money to help the children of Coffeyville. We help with the shop with the cop. We have the circus coming this year, and we just want people to be aware of it. We even have a pretty poster.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to
Jim looks like he wants to go.
Is this
Tom.
the only time we're going to have before you guys vote on the rezoning to speak right now? Okay. My name is Tom Moley. I live at 406 Westwood. You know, this whole thing just seems to be going way too quick. Like I said, I I don't want to become considered a troublemaker. I didn't come to the last meeting for that. We were told at one of the previous meetings that they weren't going to use this as maintenance. Now, I heard Paul the other day say this was going to be maintenance in this track. There's
No,
not
the
gonna be
area.
any maintenance done out there.
The area.
I did say that they would maintain the area, but not like doing rail car maintenance.
I mean, I understand a business has to grow, but to put it all towards us, there's a lot of area around there. Now, I just don't understand. I did contact them. I don't, when things are just half-truths. I contacted them 6 months ago about buying a home, when he did tell you, the plant manager told you that they were actively buying homes. Well, they're not, because I never got a return call. He told me after the meeting because I talked to the wrong guy. Well, that's where I was sent to talk to. I don't even know who to contact. So we're putting this all way quick. We're putting this on this before they've even started buying any homes or even talking to anybody about homes. And then it's already up here for, once it's passed, it's passed. And there's not going to be, they can do whatever they want, and there's nothing they can do. I read an article in the paper about that area was depleted, getting tore down, or getting run down. Yes, it is. And why is that? We were told that the nitrogen plant wouldn't make any noise. It does make noise. I've got roughly 17 properties down there, and there's a constant roar down there, and there's no way around that. The stink from the last, and like my grandfather used to say, it smells like money, which it is. But the smell down there, everybody had about that last turnaround. It was all over town. It didn't matter where you're at, you smelled it. People down there have to live with this, and now they're going to have to start living with more noise. If I don't know anything about any environmental impact study that was done. They haven't really even put a plan out there. The last meeting last week you guys had, which was a work session, I thought, that wasn't open to the public, right?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That was my fault but anyway, it just seems like it's all moving way too fast, and they haven't done anything on their end other than they want that area. There was a big gap in between it. We were told it was going to be, or I thought we were told, which I probably was wrong, that we could go to the website and find it. Well, it just gave you the lots. It didn't really show you how the tracks were being run. And what I saw they put up on the TV, the tracks are going to be real close to Union. I said something about what's the big gap in the center for. Instead of putting them all a lot closer, they said, well, that's under code or whatever. I've been by tracks where there's at least 40 tracks right next to each other. Why do they have to put it so close to Union Street, which would make more noise? You go down any highway in any city or whatever, there's cement retaining walls, which would cut down the noise, which would eliminate trees or whatever they're talking about leaving for noise. It's not going to work. We live with noise down there, which we were told we weren't going to have, but we do have. You pass this without some consideration for the people that live close there. It's just not right. That's really all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Lawrence?
My name's Lawrence Briggins Jr. I live at 107 East First Street. And I mentioned about what is called a buffer zone the last time I was here. Green zone, safe zone. The area that I recommended was 2nd Street North and Walnut Street East. And anything between Union and Walnut and 1st Street and 2nd Street, nothing can go in there. Nothing. No houses, no railroads, no, you can't build anything. It's a safe zone. It's a buffer zone. And it's just a recommendation that I made. I don't know if it's going to do any good, but please, please, please consider it. And hopefully the refinery would consider it, and the railroad would consider it, Waco would consider it also. That's all I got to say. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Anyone else at this time?
I got a question.
Yes. Come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Excuse me?
State your name and address, please.
Monty White. We normally work out of Oklahoma. We bought property at a tax sale. So, anyway, is there a representative here from that company?
Where do you live?
Pardon me?
Where do you live?
Oklahoma, Kansas Bowl.
Do you have an address?
Yes.
We'd like it for the record, please.
Well, we haven't actually got the paperwork on the property yet. I got a receipt for it. It's East 9, I think it's 419 East 5th. Or you can use, what's that other, 615 West 5th. You can use that address. Or you can use a post office box in Juan, Oklahoma, 115, zip code 74083. You can use that address.
You're the gentleman that came to speak to us about parking in the yard?
Pardon me?
Did you come speak to us about parking in the yard?
Not at this time, no.
No, I mean, but did you before?
Yeah, I've been here before. My question is there a representative here from the co-op?
Right there.
Are you the man? Which one? Okay, can I ask him questions?
You need to speak into the
Speak into
microphone
the
so
mic.
people can hear you at home, though.
Oh, okay. Well, my question mostly is how much area are you gonna need? How much footage of your railroad tracks? How many cars you planning on parking there? And how big the cars are? That's my question.
Sir, all of these questions have been asked repeatedly,
Oh, have they?
and they've been answered repeatedly.
Have they? I
And-
haven't
and-
got any information on this myself.
Okay.
And like I said, the property we purchased is actually straight south of the plant.
Right.
Okay. And I know a little bit about their business. I used to pull for Jack B. Kelly, and I know somewhat of their business.
Did you have any other questions?
Them are the questions that I have.
Okay.
It sounds like to me, personally, I think there's a gentleman, a billionaire, that's got stock in this company out of Houston. It's- Technically, I think all they're doing is really trying to get a pretty cheap storage area. And if it'll hold a lot of cars, that's pretty cheap storage to me,
To store the cars or store the product in the cars?
right? Product in the cars.
They're not going to be able to do that, sir.
They're not?
No,
These are
sir.
empty cars.
Well, things change sometimes, you know.
And,
Is
well,
that in their contract?
it's in the covenant that we've discussed just
Is it?
ad nauseum for about a month now.
Is their contract going to be visible for the public to see?
Sir, it's been visible.
Where's it at?
It's been on the website.
I don't have computers.
Oh, okay. Well, we've had it here. We've had it at the meetings that we've held. We've discussed this at probably at least 4 meetings, 4 public meetings.
Well, we got a lot going on right now, and then, in
Yeah.
fact, we had to put stuff on hold. My mother's in the hospital
Yeah.
with a cracked hip, and
I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. In the refinery's defense, they're not going to, and the railroad, neither one of them make money if cars are sitting full of product and sitting still.
well, they're getting the product for nothing. It comes out of the air. The only cost they have is manufacturing and shipping. That's the only cost they have.
I imagine that's a big cost. Nothing's free.
How do I want to say this, the product that they sell is very expensive. The reason I know that, I used to pull for Jack B. Kelly out of Amarillo, okay? Even the stuff that the Superman they talk in the comic book,
Yeah.
they actually have that. I've seen it, and it is very expensive, believe me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not trying to be
No,
disrespectful.
I understand
I
that.
mean, I just
respect
haven't had haven't had time to come here. That's why I came tonight,
that. Yeah.
okay?
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I see the contracts and stuff? Will we be able to visit that, look at it?
I'm sure that either tomorrow at the city manager's office or tonight after the meeting, we'd be more than happy to get you a copy of the restricted covenant that we've
Okay.
discussed with the
Well, I'm
refinery.
tied up in the morning, and I've got to go to the hospital after I get on here, see how Mom's doing. She's 99, she'll be 100 in May, so Mom comes first.
Would you like us to mail it to you?
Actually, I'd like to get it quicker than that, if you don't mind.
You're dealing with the government, nothing's quick.
I understand that. I've had my problems with the government. Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mail it.
Well, we know where you live.
Thank you.
You taking notes over there?
I'm Chuck Hall with CNH Auto Machine, 105 East 3rd Street, and I stand behind Mr. Rowley. I think this thing's progressing a little too fast. I don't want to step on my customers and so on's toes, but I have an issue with the railroad and them moving those cars, and I do precision machine work there. And when they ram them cars together, if you had that measures like an earthquake on my concrete floor there, trying to do precision machine work as they're switching those cars, yeah, I think we're going to have an issue. I am a businessman, I understand that, but I think they need a buffer zone and a allowance, and I'd encourage anybody that would like to come by there when they're switching to stand in that building and watch the building shake, and their employees are my good customers and have been for 28 years, but I with Mr. Briggins of the buffer zone and so on, I think they need to really look at the whole plan as a whole of what all's going on there before you guys give in. And I understand the co-op and the fertilizer plant wanting to expand, and it's good for the city business and so on, but they need to consider some of the other things that's going to take place. And I can't afford to lose like a $2,600 project that gets scrapped when that hits when I'm running a precision machine that close to the tracks. Yesterday was a very prime example. I was lucky to be able to redo a job with extra material left on the job, and when they was switching the machines, how they was shaking when they was switching cars in and out. And I just wanted to voice my opinion and thank you.
Where are you located?
Right across from you there at the school in the little blue building on the corner of 3rd and Union, right behind Clough Oil.
And you shake from there?
Yes, sir. If I know you're there across, I encourage you someday when they're switching to come give me a visit, and you can witness what goes on. I mean, I've had plaques and trophies and stuff on the wall, and the building is a secure, sound structure, but it'll still knock the stuff off the walls from time to time. And if the more of that traffic's going to increase, it's just going to be worse. And I would like to be like Mr. Briggins, consider to being part of the buyout if there's any possible way, and relocate to somewhere else.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Anyone else at this time? Marcus?
To Marcus Castle, Area 4, Kansas. I told you guys last meeting how last time I was ever kind of tell you how I felt it should slow down a little bit. But to the defense, when I was in my meeting of the planning and zoning, they said this new thing that they wouldn't have to, that they would not be coupling cars and stuff, so they wouldn't have that shake. I live down by the train tracks, and I have for 30 years. And I hate to be the bad guy in saying this, but you can get used to it. It does shake my house, but I live one right over. And it's not fun living by them. And it's not easy to sleep at night. But it can be done. And to be quite frankly honest, I think they're getting a better, it sounds to me like they're trying to get a better deal than what we have down there. I'm not trying to be the bad guy here. I'm just trying to state some facts. I think it needs to slow down and take a look and to get them to do some stuff before. But don't take it into consideration just because the noise could be bad, but we have it pretty bad down there too.
Thank you, Marcus. Anyone else at this time? Okay, public comments are closed. Moving on to old business, ordinance number G-12-01, second reading of an ordinance amending commission compensation. City Attorney Paul Kreitz will make comments and address questions.
There have been no changes to this ordinance since it was
Okay. If there are no other comments, I move to approve ordinance number G-12-01 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Jones and seconded by Commissioner Warren to approve ordinance number G-12-01 for adoption. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye. Ordinance number S-12-01, first reading of an ordinance to rezone property located in the city of Coffeyville, 100 and 200 block of East Wilcox, 100 block of East Beatty Street, 100 block of East Sterling Street, 1 and 200 block of East North Street, 100 and 200 block of East Martin Street, and the 100 and 200 block of East New Street. Dennis Jacobs, do you want to make comments?
There have been no comments since the special meeting and since your first meeting on the subject. We can table it. However, it would seem appropriate that since it's on the table, that you act on that so that you can discuss it if you choose.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, comments on this?
You need a motion to take it off the table first, don't you?
I'll make the motion, take it off the table.
Second?
Motion was made by Commissioner George and seconded by Commissioner Edwards to remove ordinance number S-12-01 from the table. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
You can speak up.
So can you.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Yeah, we can have discussion.
Gentlemen?
If I could share a few comments.
Okay, Paul.
I prepared the draft of the restrictive covenants and sent it to Coffeyville Resources, and they have given us some feedback, which I forwarded to you. Hopefully you've all received that document, had an opportunity to review it. They did mark up the conditions regarding the property use, which begins at page 3 of the handout at your table. And as you can see, they made some fairly substantial changes to the proposed conditions. And
I don't have a copy.
you don't have a copy?
Here.
Thank you, I have one.
Okay. Two, sorry.
Discussing this with staff and with representatives of Coffeyville Resources, rather than sitting here trying to hammer out the proposed changes this evening in this venue, we thought probably the proper course would be to either have you go ahead and consider this matter for first reading, or table the matter yet again, so that we can try to come to an agreement regarding these conditions of the restrictive covenants. One of the other outstanding issues is the access road to the tree dump. That Resources was suggesting that the Sparks Street be improved and used for the access to the tree dump, and city staff and I think the city commission was pretty adamant that it be routed around the north side of the property. And I know that in speaking with Mr. Barkley right before the meeting, he said that he has initiated contact with the property owner, and they hope to be able to work something out as far as getting access to that property for the access road. So that is a term that has yet to be finalized. So you can see for yourselves the changes they're proposing. What we're looking for really from you all is feedback to their proposed changes, whether you want to do that now or whether you want to do that between now and the next meeting, which will be 3 weeks from tonight. You know, I know staff wants to make sure we're comfortable, and we want you all to be comfortable with the final version of these covenants.
It seems to me like, Paul, there's extensive changes on this, and just being handed this right now, it's hard to really study the document and make sure that we, you know, agree with everything.
Yeah, I have not received feedback from you all at this point, and I know that you all would like to probably have a chance to look it over and provide that feedback, you know, before you take any final action on it. So your option tonight is to go ahead and consider the rezoning for first reading. Of course, that's not going to be a final action. And then, assuming we work out all of the details, you could pass the ordinance for second reading at the next meeting, or again, you could table it tonight if you chose to.
I don't think it would be appropriate with this much difference of opinion between what we put out and what they've given back to us to approve it for first reading.
I don't feel comfortable doing a first reading tonight.
I mean, the reason that we went the restrictive covenant route, as my understanding, is to put in writing things that we were being told through the presentation process by the representatives of the two companies, so that what they were telling us should or would or could happen, they'd be compelled to do it because there would be something in black and white and in writing and on record. One of those issues was we were told that there would not be products stored in the cars, and from my point of view, that seemed to be a pretty significant consideration of not only the commission, but the people who were coming to speak to us, and that's been changed in this document. And so I think we're just too far apart. That's just one instance. So I think we're just too far apart at this point for us to take any action on this at all, except to just move on to the next agenda item after we've all had a chance to say our opinions on this. There's not even I mean, we talk about a chain link fence in here. It doesn't even specify how tall this chain link fence could be. Would it be a 4-foot tall fence, an 8-foot tall fence?
It would have to be built in accordance with the site plan, which is a defined term, and the site plan is going to be attached to this, and I kind of assume those details will be spelled out in the plan. I don't think we have a final version of the site plan either.
I just think before we take any action at all these colors on here need to be black and white, and I think we need to see a site plan. I think we need to know exactly what we're voting on.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable doing this blindly. I want to see a site plan. I want to know what I'm approving.
Well, I wouldn't have a problem doing having a vote on the first reading, but I would want to, I agree with the other two commissioners. I would want to see the final document before I ever voted for the second part of it in 3 weeks.
Not ready.
I mean, when we're this far apart,
Yeah.
we're subverting the two-reading provision in our city codes by approving something that's been, I mean, if I got an English paper back in high school that had been bled on like this, when I came back to class the next day, I'd probably throw my hat in the door to see if she'd let me come in and sit down. This is just too far apart.
Not ready.
With all of these changes, we're not ready. We really need to discuss it, and certainly, there's a message here. And so we really need to go into dialogue, nothing like getting an understanding.
Would we just move on to the next item, or does there need to be a motion to table it again?
Well, my other question then is, we're saying we're not ready, then do we need to have another work session with the refinery, or do we allow staff to take care of this, or how are we going to do it?
I think providing your feedback to me, and don't reply to all, just reply to me, and we'll disseminate the information and try to work it out if possible. And, but I think for now, we ought to go ahead and table it and then remove it from the table the next go-around.
That would be most comfortable, in my opinion, is to table it.
I make a motion to table this and another further meeting.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gonzalez and seconded by Mayor Jones to table ordinance number S-12-01. Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Okay, then we will pass on item 3 and go on to new business. Resolution number R-12-08, a resolution to establish a policy for issuing electronic tablets to the commissioners. Attorney Paul Kreitz will make comments and address questions.
This has been revised based on our dialogue at our last commission meeting. Hopefully it's like you want it now.
Looks good to me.
I think there's been some discussion about purchasing insurance for these devices, and I believe that Stephanie received a price. Somebody received a price. $71
To insure it.
for 2 years worth of insurance per unit.
Then every 2 years, we're going to purchase new ones, so.
That's not in this policy. I'm assuming that's just something you all would budget.
Okay. I move to approve.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner George and seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez to approve resolution number R-12-08 for adoption. Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Moving on to resolution number R-12-09, a resolution to amend the Neighborhood Stabilization Action Plan. Treasurer Angie Nader will make comments and address questions.
Mayor and Commissioners, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For your consideration tonight is an amendment to our Neighborhood Stabilization Program Action Plan. The original NSP action plan was approved by the Commission in April of 2009 whenever we became a part of this program, and it was amended in August 2010 to specify the dollars available for each grant category. There are 3 amendments that are up for your consideration tonight. The first one is modifying the amount of closing cost assistance that will be provided to the buyers, increasing that to 100% of closing cost, excluding certain buyer prepaid items, as opposed to the current 50% of closing costs that are currently listed in the action plan. The second item is to modify the affordability section of the action plan. What this will do is change the affordability to 5, 10, or 15 years, depending on the amount of assistance that the buyers would receive as a part of this program. The final amendment for your consideration is to modify the budget. We have completed all of the rehab for the houses that are involved in this program, so we are recommending reallocating the funds from the leftover funds from the rehab category and including that in the financing category. And that was about $12,500 that will be moving over to the financing category. Staff recommends approving these 3 modifications to the action plan, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
The questions I had, Angie, and I don't know if Jeff sent them to you, was about financing.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you checked with the lenders on whether or not you could do 100%?
It depends on the type of financing. I know in certain cases, they will only allow up to a certain amount of closing costs be covered. For instance, an FHA program only allows the buyer to provide up to 6% of the sales price of the house.
Seller to provide up to 6%.
For the seller to provide the buyer, right, excuse me, up to 6% of the purchase price of the house in closing cost assistance. So we would obviously, depending on the type of financing that the buyer acquired, we would meet those requirements. However, for the action plan, we would cover up to 100% of the allowable costs that their financing would cover or allow.
I was also told that this, we can cover part of their down payment up to half of it, 50% of their 20%. I was also told that we needed to make sure that that was done up front, and we had to show them maybe the grant, because some lenders would be a little apprehensive, but if we showed it to them up front, that they would probably go along with it.
As far as showing them the program requirements?
Yes, as far as showing them that we would grant them or take like a second mortgage for the extra down payment. We would need to show that up front, because they're gonna want proof that
Right.
they have the 20%.
And the next item that we have up for discussion, that has all been provided to the buyer and to their financial institution as well.
So we're gonna use this on Buckeye, on the house on Buckeye?
Yes, that's the next item up for consideration.
Okay.
What I'm asking for right now are simply the amendments to the action plan.
Well, anybody got any questions, more questions? I'll move to approve resolution R-12-09.
Second.
The motion is made by Commissioner George and seconded by Mayor Jones to approve resolution number R-12-09 for adoption. Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Resolution number R-12-10, a resolution to execute a real estate sales contract for city-owned property located at 110 North Buckeye. Angie Naden.
We purchased the house at 110 North Buckeye utilizing the Neighborhood Stabilization Grant Funds. Since that time, we have done lead abatement as well as completely renovated the property, and it was completed in July of 2011. And through these grant funds, we were able to do all of these activities, and it was covered 100%. The city was out, no funds for this. It's part of this program. Everything is covered at 100% reimbursement. The house has had a for sale sign in the yard for the last 6 months, and there's been a tremendous amount of interest in the property. However, if you'll recall, there are certain income requirements that a buyer must fall into in order to qualify for the purchase. It's a HUD guideline. It's part of the federal mandate of this program. because of that, and also because it seems like it has been very difficult for some potential buyers to obtain financing, we haven't received an offer on the house until just recently. We did receive an offer last week in the amount of $30,000 to purchase the house. We did run this by our grant administrator. They are agreeable to that. However, because the city owns the property, authorization has to be received from the commission. I also included in my staff report information on how the down payment assistance works, but that really isn't something that I'm asking for your approval. That's simply a part of the program. That's how this program works. If you authorize the sale, the financing mechanism and the down payment assistance goes along with that. So that information in the staff report was simply that, just for your information. Staff does recommend that the commission approve the sale of the house in the amount of $30,000, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Is this a different house from what we talked about last week?
There are two grant programs, housing grant programs. They're in motion right now.
Okay.
This is the only one that has an offer on it, though.
Correct.
Right, so, well, I make a motion, if there are no further questions, to approve Resolution R-12-10.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
Angie, on here it says, I thought we could do 20% of the down, half of the down, correct? We can give a second mortgage for half of the down.
The second mortgage, the forgiveness mortgage, is the way that figure is calculated is you take the difference between the appraised value of the house and the agreed upon sales price. In addition to that, it's 20% of that agreed upon sales price. So it's the combination of those two figures is the forgiveness mortgage, essentially.
I'm lost. I'm sorry, it must be over my head. I thought it was that we could provide them with half of their down payment. They have to come up with a full $6,000 down payment then.
No. I think you might be getting confused the closing cost assistance and the down payment assistance.
Okay?
The closing cost assistance is
That was the
when the
6%
program
or whatever.
when
We
the
could do
program
that.
originally started, it was 50% of closing costs. However, that's just been amended, okay?
Now tell me what the down payment is.
The down payment, the forgiveness mortgage, is the difference between the appraised value of the house and the sales price of the house.
Okay?
Plus, whatever the sales price is, 20% down payment assistance.
That still don't make sense. Will you throw the figures out. Show me the figures.
All right, let's separate it out. The offer price on the house was $30,000.
Correct.
Therefore, it's eligible for up to $6,000 in down payment assistance. Because
That's
the
the
program offers
20%.
20%. Now, the mortgage is going to be that $6,000 in down payment assistance, the second mortgage, plus the difference between the appraised price and the actual cash price.
Okay?
So the 57 minus the 30, plus any down payment assistance that goes along with it, is the amount of the second mortgage. So we're talking about two different things here. The down payment assistance is 20% of the cash price. And then we'll also file.
Down payment for a mortgage is 20% of the loan, or of the sales price.
Of the sales price.
20% of $30,000 is $6,000.
Correct. That's the down payment assistance.
You're going to give them 100% down payment.
That's what the program allows.
federal government. This is how they created the
Well,
big
that's-
housing mess.
That's true.
Okay.
Well, we want to answer all your questions, so.
Yeah, I thought I read in this deal we just passed that we only give them half of the down payment.
No, I think it was half of the closing costs.
No, it was 100% of closing costs.
Okay.
I don't know that anywhere we've indicated that it was 50% of the down payment.
Hang on. Sale,
Is that what you're talking about?
the city of Coffeyville agrees to provide forgiveness mortgage in the amount of $33,000. No, I don't think. What was it under?
Page 3 of 8.
This was under her, what was on last.
On the action plan?
Yes.
Here.
100% of closing costs, down payment up to 20% of purchase price.
You may be picking up a 50%. The only other place where we talk about 50% is in the income qualifications.
Maybe that's what it was. I'm sorry, Angie, I just.
That's okay. Well, I want to, like Jeff said, we want to make sure that you're comfortable with the transaction.
Well, I've got no problems with transaction, I just thought the figure was wrong.
It has been, I will say this, the forgiveness mortgage, that whole concept is somewhat difficult to grasp, and it's also been very difficult to explain it at times too. So I apologize if I was
No, it
unclear
was
at all
difficult.
tonight.
I better have another minute.
Pass those around.
Did you have a second?
No.
Second?
Motion was made by Commissioner Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner Edwards to approve resolution number R-12-10 for adoption. Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Let's see. Second.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you.
Resolution number R-12-11, a resolution to execute a change order for city-owned property located 1109 West First Street, Housing Authority, Robert York.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As we are wrapping up this project on 1109, we did come across some issues with the electrical wiring in the house. It has had a new service panel installed prior to the city purchase, but as we began replacing some of the receptacles in the house, we found wiring that is out of code for the city code. Involved the electric department, had an employee come out and examine the wiring in the house. We did find other issues. There were some junctions made outside of junction boxes with wire nuts, that type of thing. Also found some grounding issues within the house. So it was a recommendation that we take a look at rewiring the house. So did go out for bids from 3 different vendors in order to try and get a good price for this, and you have those figures in front of you here on the staff report. Right now, budget-wise on that project, we are sitting with $732 left in the budget from what was originally approved. So this will put us at a cost overrun on that particular project. Requesting a total increase of a not to exceed of $3,750 over the $45,000 that was approved for this project. which more than covers the electrical work. My concern there is they're going to try and come up from underneath with this wiring, so they're not disturbing a lot of sheetrock, but in case we do damage sheetrock or have to make some changes, it allows us that little extra headroom there to take care of any of those situations. So that does bring this project in at $48,750 if we expend all of these.
So how much total are we going to have in this project?
$48,750 would be the total.
That's just what you've got spent on it. What?
That would be the not-to-exceed amount. Right now, we've spent 40.
I understand that. What I'm saying, how much money are we going to have in this house total?
That's purchase price and reconstruction. That's everything.
That 48,750 is the number.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And in Bob's defense, this was purchased before he got here and took the project over, and this is a home we did not have inspected ahead of time, so.
Good.
Well, that was going to be my question. You do have a program now where we inspect these homes for electrical wire and stuff, because
If they're questionable, we do bring in an outside inspector. Other than that, I'm doing it myself, yes.
because evidently this existed when we bought the home.
Well, it was discovered late in the rehab, too,
Right.
so.
But that's what I'm saying, it was a previous.
It's not
individual
something
that
that
had
was real obvious on the front end.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't obvious because I even looked at it.
Especially for an accountant.
They set a new box, and then they connected
Well,
the
it's just
wiring
that they
to
put the
it.
service panel in, and there was some other issues in how it was wired from the new service panel as well that were questionable.
Like I said, I looked at it first before the city bought it, and I didn't notice it. I looked at the new box and thought, oh, man, it's got good wiring in it.
Yes.
We don't want to blacklist you.
You don't want me to look at them anymore, that's for sure. Make a $3,700 mistake.
Are those further questions? I move to approve resolution R-12-11.
Second?
Motion was made by Commissioner Gonzalez and seconded by Commissioner George to approve resolution number R-12-11 for adoption. Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Resolution number R-12-12, a resolution to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Kansas Department of Revenue for office space in City Hall. City Clerk Cindy Price.
I'll let Jeff do it.
I'm going to come in
Okay.
in relief.
I had a question mark there.
Okay. In your packet is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Coffeyville and the Kansas Department of Revenue. Just a quick background on this. Last fall, the City of Coffeyville was contacted by the Department of Revenue regarding office space for their new revenue agent that would be located actually in Coffeyville. The revenue agent for the Coffeyville area, or for this part of the state, recently retired, and the state had a policy that they allowed to be grandfathered whereby the agents could actually maintain an office in their home. Well, as the officers are turning over, they are no longer allowing that to happen. So it was important to us to keep a revenue agent in our local area, so we looked to see what we could do to provide office space. This is a rent-free arrangement. The only space that we had is where Genesis is currently located. And my thinking going through this is a government building, and as much as we've appreciated Genesis being here and the service they provide to the community, priority really ought to go to a government function first. And so we gave them notice to start seeking a new location sometime back. And they are still seeking that, so if anyone knows of a good space for them, they're still seeking. But this agreement would provide an office space to Department of Revenue starting in the month of March.
So we did ask Genesis to vacate.
I did that, yes.
So I'm not making any assumptions, what is the advantage of us having the Kansas Department of Revenue camping out in our basement rent-free? I mean, it's the Department of Revenue, they've got money.
that was one of the agreements to have them here, is it needed to be a no-rent situation. We're not collecting rent from Genesis either. And the reason that was the case is a lot of the money they collect and remit to the citizens was coming right upstairs to the utility office in the form of utility payment assistance, in addition to the groceries and other things they do for the community.
What's the advantage of having the Department of Revenue?
Department of Revenue, this is really a field agent that will go in and do audits. In the past, when we've had questions come up regarding businesses where it appeared they weren't remitting sales tax like they should, we had a good enough relationship with the agent. We pick up the phone and say, go look at this.
So the advantage now is that you can walk down the stairs and see them in person?
Well, if we don't provide a space here, we may not have an agent anywhere near Coffeyville.
This guy's a tax collector, basically, right?
Yes.
Why are we in such a hurry to help him?
It's our tax dollars they're protecting.
Why would we let him do this rent-free? I mean, where else are they going to go, where else are they going to set this office up at for free?
They wouldn't. They'd probably go to Wichita or back to Topeka.
I just don't understand why we're in a hurry to give these people a free space when we're so cramped for space ourselves. I mean, I've been on the commission now for not even a year, and I've just heard a constant pitter-patter of stories about how we're cramped for space, these people are sitting on top of those people, and we've got people 3 high over in that corner, and we're giving these people free space?
And it's not so much a lack of space, it's the way the building's laid out, and that's one of the reasons you all told us to go ahead and start working on renovations to the building so we can make better use of the space we have.
I guess I just understand.
And we are working toward that, or in that direction.
Yeah, I guess ultimately I just don't understand why we ask somebody who's helping our needy citizens and providing a service, and in a nutshell, we're booting them in favor of a tax-collecting bureaucrat from Topeka, and we're going to let them have it for free. I mean, I just don't understand why we did that.
I gave you my logic. I mean, I'm not...
And I understand where you're coming from.
It wasn't an easy decision, but it is a government building first, is the way I was looking at it. All the other uses in the building are government purpose.
Right, well, and the purpose of government is to serve the citizens. And Genesis is doing that for a group of citizens that, for whatever reason, can't do it themselves right now. And they're helping us get utility money.
Right.
Well, I can see both sides of this.
Right.
I just don't see why we'd do it for free. All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
Jeff, if we didn't do it for free, we wouldn't have an agent down there, period.
That's the way it was presented. That's the way I understand it.
And it's to our benefit to have that agent in the area, right?
Well, it's to our benefit as another government entity. They're here to assist us. Anytime we have tax questions, they'll assist us with that. Anytime we have collection issues, they certainly assist in that way. The other thing to look at is it's another family that's coming to Coffeyville.
Well, there are pluses.
I'm not saying it's perfect.
Hey, could I ask a question? Did we ever solve the issue, since we're talking about space, and I hate to bring this up, but IT was really cramped for space. Chris's department, wasn't it? Did we ever get all that resolved?
We've moved people around, but again, we're in the process of I guess coming up with a plan or floor plans to renovate the building overall, so that walls are really where we need them and we can make the best use of the space we have.
Chris took Paul's office.
Yeah.
What? Sorry about that, Paul.
I mean, some offices, some offices are bigger than they need to be, some spaces are too small. And
IT's more important.
But I know it's essential to get him an area that was workable and usable for his equipment and stuff. And
we're getting by.
Okay.
So.
Has there been a motion made?
No.
Okay.
No.
Motion, I move to approve R-12-12.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner George and seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez to approve resolution number R-12-12 for adoption. Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
No.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Resolution number R-12-13, a resolution to execute a license agreement with Clean Harbors for installation of 2 groundwater monitoring wells. Engineering Superintendent Scott Messman.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. For your consideration tonight is a license agreement for installation of 2 groundwater monitoring wells on a portion of our property out at the airport. The purpose of these wells is to monitor the groundwater. There's some pollution contamination problems that emanate from an area that they're trying to figure out. And the reason they're drilling more wells is an investigation to find where that source is coming from. City staff has checked with our airport coordinator and Mark Muller, and they're good about the locations. One of the locations was moved from where the drawing shows it. We're going to monitor their activities as they come in and drill these wells as far as egress and ingress, make sure that we don't have mud problems. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
What kind of contamination do they have?
It is a solvent that was used in the cleaning of airplanes years ago. They think it may be from one of the hangars.
One of the city's hangars?
And I can't pronounce the name of the chemical, but it was a solvent.
Well, I noticed on this map that we've got, it only shows 2 places for wells,
Right?
and you said there were 6?
Well, there are many monitoring wells out there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the proposed, Scott.
There are just 4 on the map I have, and it's showing 2 existing wells, and the blue ones are the proposed wells. The north one has been moved to the northeast. You can see a group of trees there, and it's going to hug right in that area, so it won't be in the middle of a farming operation.
Okay, I see 2 wells, which would be at the at the southeast corner of the red square, or just south of 3-6 runway. Where's the north ones?
Well, when I'm referring to the north one, I'm talking about the blue one. Do you have color?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the furthest north one, yeah.
Correct me if I get this wrong, but I think what he's referring to is when you look at the lease agreement, it states that they can install up to 6 new groundwater monitoring wells, and there are only 2 depicted on the map.
And that's because it's on our property. These are the only 2 on our property.
Okay.
They're going to do others on Clean Harbors property. And
That answers the question.
Are there any other questions? And I move to approve resolution number R-12-13 for adoption.
Second?
Motion was made by Mayor Jones and seconded by Commissioner Edwards to approve resolution number R-12-13 for adoption. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Excuse me.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner George. Commissioner Horn.
Can I ask Scott a question then, to go along with this? Let's say they've found this contamination. If it's on our property, are they going to come back to us for cleanup?
no, whoever created the problem is responsible for the cleanup.
Okay, great.
And it could be that this would be a one-time investigation, and after they get their tests, they'll be satisfied with the results, and they'll eliminate the wells.
Okay, thank you.
Did you finish calling our names?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution number R-12-14, a resolution to approve a commercial curb cut variance for USD 445. Scott Massman.
Thank you again, Mayor. I'm going to need one of those lozenges too. That's all right.
Here you go.
We received a request from USD 445 to accommodate a new storage building that's been recently constructed. The proposed variation is a 72-foot wide curb cut. Our city ordinance allows for just a 60-foot wide cut. Hence the purpose of the variation. You have a drawing that shows the area that this will be located at, and it's our opinion that the proposed entrance will benefit the building better if this is all one open curb cut. You guys issue these variations by ordinance, and it's our recommendation to do so.
I'll move to approve R-12-14.
So move.
Motion was made by Commissioner George and seconded by Commissioner Horn to approve resolution number R-12-14 for adoption. Commissioner Horn.
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner George.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Commissioner Horn. Mayor Jones.
Me first.
You're all shaking your head. They can't hear that on the
Yes.
audio.
Aye. Now we're into comments from commissioners and staff.
You okay?
Yeah,
You got your little old lady voice going, or you?
my little old lady voice.
Her and Cindy both.
Now,
I should have stayed away tonight. Everybody seems sick.
I'll let staff go first.
And that sweet
I
little
just
lady.
have a few things to update you on, just activity report. Public service is continuing to replace joints, concrete joints along the highway, West 11th Street. Some time ago, we started work on the shale pit lift station. That is ongoing. They're getting ready to do some temporary switchovers while they start putting things down in the well. And so that's getting close to the end there. The gym floor replacement at the rec center. The rec commission chose a different color, so we were able to get materials in a lot sooner. And it was reported this morning that that job's now about 90% complete. No creases or roll marks in the material, so
Good.
Report is everything's looking good right now.
Jeff, on
So-
that, we will have a warranty on it, though, once it's completed again?
We've been doing everything
Okay.
that is needed to have the warranty.
Okay, great.
The clink project, as far as the joint replacement and crack repair on South Walnut is complete. The weather is too cool now to come back and do the Nova chip overlay, so we're going to wait, or the contractor's going to leave for a while, and then come back in late spring, early summer to do the seal over the top of that. But the cones ought to be set aside out of the way here for a while now. Electric distribution department has been replacing the underground electric service in the Pullens Drive area. The original cable that was in there was a direct bury cable. It failed some time ago, and we'd had temporary repairs in place. It's being put back in conduit, and can't recall if it was actually completed or if it's very near completion, but that job is either done just recently or it's almost done. And then if you've been by the skate park, there are lights up in that area. Take a look at those, tell us what you think. If that meets your approval, then
Is it on a timer?
we will go back and put a timer in there. That is not there yet, but if the lights as they are what are acceptable, then once the timer is there, that project will be complete.
Great.
And then
Just one other thing, the fire department has been doing their annual inspections of the schools, so that is nearly complete. And Chief is here. We're going to start something up that, again, that had kind of been set aside for a number of years, and that's actually inspections of the various businesses. And if you have questions or want to, I thought we'd be proactive and discuss exactly what the business inspections are real quick, and we'll be doing some announcements ahead of time as well.
So we're only inspecting the businesses now when they ask for a liquor license, basically, is that correct?
Well, and I'm not even sure that's the same type of inspection, but I'm going to let the chief come up, Chief Grimmett, and explain the purpose and exactly what these business inspections are.
Well, Mayor and Commissioners, about 25 years ago, we used to inspect every business in town, and we stopped that. And I want to go back to that for several reasons, mainly because it presents a training opportunity for firefighters. It will allow us to build relationships with the business owner and operators, and also it would allow us to educate those people on how to be fire safe. That's the main goal and the purpose.
I think it's a great idea.
I do too. Chief, is there going to be like an inspection from a standpoint of we go in and say, well, you know, you're out of code here, and we're going to fine you if you don't fix it, or?
No, we don't fine. What we do is
Just make recommendations to them?
Right. We allow them to give us a plan of correction, and there's a time frame, whether it's 30 days, 60 days. Now, if there's anything, obviously our concern is life safety, but anything that has to do with exiting, we would want to expedite that correction.
This helps you all be familiar with these buildings if you ever have to fight a fire in them, too.
Absolutely. That's part of the pre-planning process.
It helps keep our fire code good.
Rating.
Yeah, our rating good. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's a great idea.
And since this isn't something we've done for a number of years, we did think it was best to start putting out public service announcements and be proactive and try to get ahead of the rumor mill as far as what people think we're doing versus what we really are doing. So
I might ask, it's a great idea and all for it. Why did we get away from it to begin with then?
I don't know the answer to that. And
No, I mean, you know what I'm saying. It's a good program.
I don't know
Why
the
would we
answer.
ever venture from it?
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Well,
appreciate it.
I applaud the idea. I think it's a good one, because I know we have some businesses who probably don't understand some of the problems they have. And if we don't come in as a policing deal and we just say, hey, you need to look at something like this, maybe you got too many outlets here or too many plugs in one outlet, you guys really need to be considerate, this is a fire hazard, so you need to watch this, or you don't have a fire extinguisher. I think if we walk in with that attitude and work with the citizens, they're going to love it.
And we
It's going to
will.
really help them down the long run.
We will.
we're approaching it as a service, not a big brother
Excellent,
tactic.
excellent.
And this is something scary, being a woman, a little woman. I really
Never
don't
did
know
any of
how to
that.
operate a fire extinguisher. I'm serious.
Oh, I could show you. It's real fun.
I mean, maybe some of the gals downtown, you could show them. Maybe they, I don't know, but
We do extinguisher training on an as-need basis. If there's a business that would like us to come out and perform that training to educate them, we'll be more than happy to.
okay. We've got one. I don't know how to use it. Throw it.
Poor husband.
No comment.
Oh.
How old is it?
I don't know.
See, that's something else.
They go out of date.
Yeah,
See, I think
Yeah,
this
they
is a
do.
great idea.
excellent. I like being proactive.
Right.
I like being proactive.
That's all I have, other than to let you know we do need an executive session this evening, duration of about 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
How is our marketing group coming along?
Well, we got that report.
That's, you just received a report, and there's some activity. That's part of the reason for the executive session.
Gentlemen, do you have any comments?
No, ma'am.
I have one thing I'd like to bring up. Oh, go ahead if you want.
I was just going to say thank you to Public Service or Electric Department for taking care of that issue at the skate park. I think that really improves the safety out there for the kids.
There's a lot of kids
It's great.
using that. In the good weather,
It's
even
great.
bad weather, they're over there using that.
How close are we to getting the lights on the bridge?
We are trying to, I guess, nail down the details on exactly what the lights are going to look like, the height, et cetera. And once that is done, then that'll be submitted to KDOT for their approval. And once we receive that, then we can begin the work. But it is progressing.
Jeff, we had talked about the gym floor out there, but a few years, well, it wasn't a few years ago, when we resurfaced that tennis court out there, did we have that all done to our satisfaction?
They did it to the contract, yeah, and I believe we had some issues, and they came back and made
Yeah, we had
additional
some issues.
repairs, so,
So that's all been corrected?
yes.
Okay.
To my knowledge, it has.
Any other questions? Then we need to move to executive session for discussion of confidential data relating to financial affairs or trade secrets of second parties, to include Kate Thorpe, to reconvene on or before, with a 7-minute break.
You can say 8:30, and that gives you a few minutes for a break.
8:30.
Okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bueno.
Hey,